Hi, and welcome back to Natural Word English. Before you do anything else, I need you to say one sentence out loud. Right now, wherever you are, I am done studying English the safe way. Say it again. If you skipped it the first time, because that sentence is the whole reason you're here. In this video, you are going to walk away with 25 advanced English words and phrases, real C1 to C2 level vocabulary, that you can use today in a real conversation with a real person without freezing. Not flashcards, not a list you'll forget by tomorrow. Words tied directly to the exact moment your brain usually goes blank. And if you're new here, this is what we do every single day at Natural Word English. We take advanced English vocabulary, and we don't just define it. We drop it into real situations, real conversations, real listening practice, so it becomes something you use, not something you memorized. So here's my promise for today. By the end of this lesson, you will understand exactly why you freeze in real conversations, and you'll have the specific vocabulary and the specific listening skills to stop it from happening. Let's talk for 90 seconds about why the safe way of studying English is actually working against you. Most learners study vocabulary as isolated words. You open an app, you see the word happy. You see a Vietnamese or a native language translation. You tap next. That word sits in your memory completely alone, disconnected from any sentence, any tone of voice, any situation. So when you're actually in a conversation and someone says something unexpected, your brain has to search through hundreds of disconnected words with no context to guide it. And that search takes time. That pause, that half second of nothing, that's the freeze. Vocabulary learned in context works completely differently. When you learn a word attached to a real situation, a real sentence, a real emotional tone, a real moment where someone would actually say it, your brain doesn't have to search. It recognizes the pattern instantly, the same way you recognize a friend's face before you consciously think about it. That's the entire method behind everything we do today. Every word you learn will be wrapped inside a situation you can actually picture yourself in. So, let's start with block 1. And I'm calling this block the words for when you actually mean it. Imagine this. You're sitting across from a colleague, and they ask for your honest opinion about a proposal you don't fully agree with. You don't want to sound rude, but you also don't want to be vague. This is exactly the moment most learners freeze, because I don't like it feels too blunt and it's fine feels dishonest. Here's your first word, candid. Candid means honest and direct, even when the truth might be a little uncomfortable, but said in a respectful way. It upgrades the basic word, honest. Listen to it in a sentence. Can I be candid with you? I think the proposal needs more detail before we present it. Now, shadow that with me immediately, right after you hear it, like an echo. Can I be candid with you? Say it again, a little faster this time. Can I be candid with you? That's shadowing. You don't wait, you don't think, you repeat the second you hear the sound, because that's what trains your mouth and your brain to move together instead of translating first. Nego. Now let's build a full conversation around this word, because a single sentence isn't enough. You need to hear how a real exchange actually flows. Picture this scene with me first. It's the end of a long meeting. The room is quiet. Just two coworkers left at the table, coffee going cold, and one of them finally decides to say what they've been holding back. Listen to the whole exchange first before you shadow anything. Hey, before we wrap up, can I be candid with you about the proposal? B. Of course. I'd rather hear it now than find out later. A. I think it's strong on paper, but I'm not sure the timeline is realistic. B. That's fair. What would you change? Honestly, I'd push the launch back 2 weeks. It would take pressure off the whole team. B. I appreciate you being candid. Let's bring that up tomorrow. Now here's where we switch roles. I'm going to read line A again, and after each line, I want you to pause the video and answer as B, using your own words. You don't need to repeat exactly what B said, just respond naturally, as if you were really in that meeting. Ready? Hey, before we wrap up, can I be candid with you about the proposal? Pause it now and answer as B. Good. Now listen to how a native speaker might actually answer and compare it with what you said. Of course. I'd rather hear it now than find out later. Notice that response doesn't just say yes. It explains why, which makes the conversation feel real instead of robotic. Let's add a second word to this same emotional territory. Assertive. Assertive means confident and direct about what you want or believe without being aggressive. It's the upgrade from just saying someone is strong-willed or pushy, because assertive keeps the respect intact. Here's the natural sentence. You need to be more assertive in negotiations, or people will assume you're flexible on everything. Shadow it with me now, immediately. You need to be more assertive in negotiations. One more time, a little faster. You need to be more assertive. Notice the stress falls on the second syllable, as assertive, not assertive. Say it with me slowly first. Assertive. Now at natural speed, assertive. That stress pattern matters, because native speakers will hear the wrong stress before they hear the wrong word. Let's do a quick role play with this one. Imagine you're preparing for a salary negotiation with your manager tomorrow. This is a professional situation where being assertive without being aggressive is exactly the skill you need. I'm going to read the manager's lines, and I want you to respond as the employee using the word assertive or the tone of assertiveness somewhere in your answer if you can manager. So, tell me why you think you deserve a raise this year. You. Pause and answer now, out loud, Alager. I hear you. What number were you thinking? You. Pause and answer now. Out loud Ballinger. That's higher than I expected, but I respect that you came prepared. You. Pause and answer now. Out loud. Nice work. That kind of hesitation you might have felt just now. That's exactly the freeze we're training away, one situation at a time. And every time you push through it, even just talking to your screen, your brain is building the same pathway it will use into a real room with a real person. Let's move into block 2, the words for when you're actually listening, not just waiting to talk. A huge reason conversations feel exhausting in a second language is that we're often not truly listening. We're translating the last sentence while missing the next one. Meinen Sie's. So here's a listening skill before we add more vocabulary. When a native speaker talks fast, you do not need to catch every single word. Your goal is to catch the meaning, the shape of the sentence, and respond with a short, natural reaction like, I see. That makes sense. Or, right. These buy you a second to process while still keeping the conversation moving naturally. Try it now. I'm going to say a sentence quickly, the way a native speaker actually talks, and I just want you to react naturally, without translating. Yeah, honestly, work's been kind of a lot lately, between the new project and everything. So I haven't really had time to catch my breath. Did you catch it all? You don't need to. What matters is you understood the general feeling. Busy, tired, overwhelmed. And that's enough to respond with something like, that sounds exhausting, or I hear you. That's a real conversational skill, not just a vocabulary skill. Now, here's your next word, and it connects directly to that listening skill. Coherent. Coherent means clear and logically connected. When your ideas actually flow together instead of jumping around. It's the upgrade from just saying something makes sense. Listen. After a few glasses of wine, his story stopped being coherent, and we couldn't follow what he was trying to say. Shadow it. His story stopped being coherent. Again. It wasn't coherent at all. Now let's flip it into something you can say about yourself, because this is where it becomes truly useful. I want to sound more coherent when I speak English, especially when I'm nervous. Say that with me now, shadowing immediately. I want to sound more coherent when I speak English. Here's a phonetics moment I want you to catch, because this exact pattern shows up constantly in natural speech. Connected speech, where two words blend into what sounds like one. Listen to the slow version first. Want to. Now the fast, natural version, the way people actually say it. Wanna, slow, going to. Fast, gonna. Listen to the full sentence slow. I want to sound more coherent. Now fast, the way you'll actually hear it in real life. I wanna sound more coherent. This is exactly why listening feels hard. You were taught the slow version, but real English almost never sounds like the slow version. From now on, every time we hit a moment like this, I'll give you both, slow then fast, so your ear starts recognizing the shortcuts natives use automatically. Let's build another contextual dialogue. And this time, let's visualize it first. Picture a busy coffee shop, background chatter, the hiss of the espresso machine, and two friends catching up after not seeing each other in months. One of them talking a mile a minute about her new job. Listen to the full conversation first. A. Okay, wait. Slow down. Start from the beginning. I'm getting lost. B. Sorry. Okay. So basically, my manager quit. Then they promoted me. Then two new people joined my team all in the same week. A. Okay. That's a lot. So, are you happy about the promotion? B. Honestly? Yes, but I'm still trying to sound coherent when I explain it to people because it happened so fast. A. That makes sense. Take your time. I'm listening. B. Thanks. Okay, so from the beginning, notice friend A used exactly the reaction phrases we just practiced. That makes sense. I'm listening. Those small phrases keep a fast conversation feeling calm and connected instead of overwhelming. Let's add one more word before we celebrate this block and move forward. Articulate. As an adjective, articulate means able to express your thoughts clearly and effectively. It's the upgrade from just saying someone speaks well. Listen, she's incredibly articulate. Even when she disagrees with you, she explains her reasoning so clearly you can't help but respect it. Shadow it now. She's incredibly articulate. One more time. He's not the loudest person in the room, but he's the most articulate. Notice the stress. Articulate. Slow. Articulate. Natural speed. Articulate. That's a strong first stretch of vocabulary. And honestly, you're already doing better than most learners who quit after the first 10 minutes because they're only reading words off a screen instead of actually using them the way you just did. You said these words out loud. You answered as a real character in a real scene. That is the entire difference between studying safely and training your brain for real conversations. And you just did it 3 times in a row. Me. Let's keep building because we still have a lot of real, usable vocabulary ahead of us. And the next block is going to target one of the most common freeze moments of all. Small talk with someone you don't know well yet. Picture this. You're at a work event, or maybe a friend's birthday party, standing near the snack table, and someone you've never met turns to you and says, "So, what do you do?" This is the single most common moment where learners freeze because the safe textbook answer, "I am an engineer," feels flat. And you don't know how to keep the conversation alive after that one sentence. Here's your next word. Elaborate. Used as a verb this time, not the adjective. To elaborate means to add more detail and explanation to something you've already said. It's the upgrade from just repeating yourself. Or saying, "Yeah, that's basically it." Listen. Could you elaborate on that? I'd love to hear more about your project. Shadow it now, right away. Could you elaborate on that? Again, a little faster. Could you elaborate? Notice the stress. E-lab-o-rate. Slow. E-lab-o-rate. Fast. Elaborate. Let's use it in the exact small talk situation we just described. with a full visualization first. Picture a rooftop party at sunset. String lights above, quiet music, two strangers meeting for the first time near the drink table. A. So, what do you do? B. I work in marketing, mostly on branding for small businesses. A. Oh, that sounds interesting. Could you elaborate a bit? I don't really know what that involves. B. Sure. Basically, I help companies figure out how to present themselves, their colors, their voice, their story, so customers actually remember them. A. That's really cool. Is that something you always wanted to do? B. Not exactly. I actually studied psychology first, but I realized I liked the creative side more. Now let's switch roles for this one. I'll read line A, and after each line, pause the video and answer as B, using your own real job or a job you'd like to have. This is your chance to actually practice talking about yourself in English, which is one of the hardest things to do spontaneously. So, what do you do? Pause and answer now. Nice. Oh, could you elaborate a bit on that? Pause and answer now. That's really interesting. Is that something you always wanted to do? Pause and answer now. That's progress. You just handled the exact question that freezes most learners at every networking event, every party, every first conversation with a coworker, and you handled it with real, upgraded vocabulary instead of one flat sentence. Let's add a phrase now instead of just a single word, because natural English relies heavily on small connector phrases that keep conversations alive. To be fair. This phrase means acknowledging a valid point, even if it goes slightly against what you were just saying. It shows balance and maturity in a conversation. Listen, the presentation was a little disorganized, but to be fair, they only had 2 days to prepare it. Shadow it. To be fair, they only had 2 days to prepare it. Again, to be fair, this phrase is incredibly useful because it lets you disagree or add nuance without sounding harsh, which is exactly the kind of soft, natural language that makes you sound less like a textbook and more like a real speaker. Let's move into a slightly deeper role play now. A job interview, one of the highest pressure conversations you'll ever have in English. Visualize it with me. A small office, a glass table, your resume sitting between you and the interviewer, your hands may be a little sweaty. Listen to this exchange first. Interviewer, tell me about a time you disagreed with a coworker. How did you handle it? You. To be fair, it wasn't a huge conflict, but we disagreed on the timeline for a project. Interviewer, okay, could you elaborate on what happened? You. Sure. I felt we needed more time for testing, and he wanted to launch earlier. I tried to be candid about my concerns without dismissing his side. Interviewer, and how did it resolve? You. We compromised. We kept his launch date, but added an extra review step, which ended up catching 2 real issues. Notice how naturally 3 of our new words just fit together in one answer. To be fair, elaborate, candid. That's exactly how real fluent speech works. It's not one advanced word per sentence, like a vocabulary quiz. It's several of these words woven together naturally, because once they're truly yours, they start appearing together without you planning it. Without you planning it. Let's pause here for just a moment. Literally, take one slow breath with me. Not because we're tired, but because I want this vocabulary to actually settle instead of just piling on top of more and more words. Sit back for 2 seconds. Let candid, assertive, coherent, articulate, elaborate, and to be fair, exist quietly in your mind for a moment before we move forward. Okay, let's keep going, because we still have real ground to cover, including the exact moment this video promised to solve, the freeze itself, and the specific words for talking about it. Here's your next word, and it's the most important one in this entire lesson, because it names the exact feeling you came here to fix: tongue-tied. To be tongue-tied means to be temporarily unable to speak clearly, usually because of nervousness or surprise. It's the natural, more emotional upgrade from just saying you forgot what to say. Listen to it in context. I completely froze in the interview. I knew the answer, but I got so tongue-tied I couldn't get a single sentence out. Shadow it now, immediately. I got so tongue-tied, I couldn't say anything. Again, a little faster. I was completely tongue-tied. Notice the rhythm. The stress lands on tongue, and the two words blend together almost like one word when spoken quickly. Slow. Tongue. Tied, fast. Tongue-tied, almost like tune-tied. Listen to both side. Slow. Tongue-tied, fast. Tongue-tied. Here's why this word matters so much for you, specifically. Every single person watching this video has felt tongue-tied in English at some point. That exact half second where your mind goes completely blank, even though you know the words. And here's the secret nobody tells you. Native speakers get tongue-tied too, in their own language, all the time. It's not a language problem, it's a pressure problem. Which means the fix isn't more grammar rules, it's exposure to real pressure. In small, safe doses, exactly like what we're doing right now with these pauses and role plays. Let's build a scene around this feeling, because naming it is the first step to controlling it. Visualize this with me. You're at a family dinner, and your uncle, who's visiting from another country, asks you directly, in English, what your plans are for the next 5 years. Everyone at the table goes quiet, waiting for your answer, and suddenly your mind goes blank. A. So, tell me, what's the plan for the next 5 years? B. Oh, that's... Honestly, you kind of caught me off guard there. A. Take your time. No rush. B. Okay, honestly, I get a little tongue-tied with big questions like that, but I'd say I want to grow in my career and maybe travel more. A. That's a solid answer. Nothing wrong with needing a second to think. B. Yeah, exactly. I just needed to catch my breath first. Now, let's switch roles. I'll read line A, and you pause and answer as B, using your own real 5-year plan if you want, or something close to it. This is exactly the kind of question that catches people off guard. So practicing it here, calmly, with no real pressure, is exactly how you make sure it doesn't catch you off guard later. So, tell me, what's the plan for the next 5 years? Pause it now and answer. Good. Take your time, no rush. Pause and respond, maybe explaining a bit more the way B did. Nice work. That pause you just took, that's completely normal, even for native speakers. And now you have the exact phrase to name it, instead of just sitting in silence. Let's add a phrase that pairs perfectly with tongue-tied, to catch someone off guard. This means to surprise someone with something they weren't prepared for. We actually just used it in that last dialogue. Listen again. That question really caught me off guard. Shadow it. You caught me off guard there. One more time. That totally caught me off guard. This phrase is incredibly common in real spoken English, especially in exactly the kind of unexpected moment that causes learners to freeze. Now here's a word that flips the entire situation around. Instead of describing the freeze, instead of describing the skill, this word describes the opposite skill, the thing we're actually training you toward. Spontaneous. Spontaneous means happening naturally, in the moment. Without planning or preparation, it's the upgrade from just saying someone can think fast. Listen, I love how spontaneous she is in conversation. She never sounds rehearsed, even when she's explaining something complicated, Sado say. Shadow it now. She's so spontaneous in conversation. Again, I want to sound more spontaneous when I speak English. Notice the stress. Spun, tiny us. Slow. Spun, te, ni. Us. Fast, natural speed. Spontaneous, let's connect this directly to a skill, not just a word, because spontaneity in a second language is trainable. Here's the technique. Instead of trying to plan a perfect sentence in your head before you speak, which is exactly what causes the freeze as. You start speaking with a short, simple opener, and you let the rest of the sentence build itself as you go. Native speakers do this constantly. They say things like, so, basically, or honestly, I think, or the thing is, and then the rest of the sentence forms naturally while they're already talking. Let's practice this right now. I'm going to give you a question, and I want you to answer immediately, out loud, starting with, honestly. I think. Don't plan the whole sentence first. Just start talking and let it build. Here's the question. What's the hardest part about learning English? Start now, out loud, beginning with, honestly, I think. Notice something important. You probably didn't have the perfect sentence fully planned before you started speaking, and that's completely fine. That's spontaneity. The opener carried you into the sentence, and your brain filled in the rest while your mouth was already moving. Oh no! This is exactly how native speakers sound natural. Not because every sentence is perfectly planned, but because they trust the opener to carry them forward. Let's do a role play that combines both of today's core feelings, the freeze and the recovery, because that's the real skill not avoiding the freeze completely, but recovering from it smoothly. Visualize this. A work meeting over video call. Your camera is on, and your manager suddenly asks you to share your opinion on a topic you weren't expecting to discuss. Jalager. Actually, before we move on, what's your honest take on this? You. Pause and answer now, starting with, honestly, I think, even if you need a second first, Alager. That's a fair point. Can you elaborate a little? You. Pause and answer now, adding more detail. Manager. I like that. I wasn't expecting such a clear answer. You caught me off guard. In a good way. You. Pause and respond naturally. Maybe with something like, I get a little tongue-tied sometimes, but I'm working on being more spontaneous. That's real progress happening right there. You just recovered from a surprise question using the exact vocabulary you learned minutes ago, and that recovery, not perfection, is what fluency actually looks like in real life. Let's move into block 4 now, and this one is about a very specific, very common situation. Disagreeing with someone politely without sounding weak or sounding rude, which is one of the trickiest balances in any language, let alone a second one. Here's your next word. Diplomatic. Diplomatic means handling a sensitive situation carefully and tactfully, especially when disagreeing or delivering difficult news. It's the upgrade from just saying someone is nice or polite, because diplomatic specifically implies skill in navigating tension. Listen, she has a really diplomatic way of disagreeing. You almost don't realize she's pushing back until after the conversation. Shadow it now. She's very diplomatic about it. Again, try to be diplomatic when you bring this up. Stress pattern. Dip-lo-matic. Slow. Dip, low. Mati. I see. Fast. Diplomatic. Let's build a dialogue around this with a visualization first. Picture a shared apartment. 2 roommates sitting at the kitchen table. One of them needs to bring up an uncomfortable topic. Unpaid rent. Without starting a fight. A. Hey, can we talk about something? I want to be diplomatic about this, so please don't take it the wrong way. B. Okay. That sounds serious. What's up? A. It's about the rent. You've been a little late the last 2 months, and it's starting to stress me out. B. Oh, I didn't realize it was affecting you that much. I'm sorry, I should have said something sooner. A. I appreciate that. I just wanted to be upfront instead of letting it build up. B. That's fair. Let's figure out a plan together. Now let's switch roles again. I'll read line A, and you pause and respond as B. This time, try to respond the way you genuinely want to handle uncomfortable news, using a diplomatic, calm tone, even if the topic itself is a little tense. Hey, can we talk about something? I want to be diplomatic about this, so please don't take it the wrong way. Pause it and respond now. It's about the rent. You've been a little late the last 2 months. Pause and respond now. Great work staying calm through that one. Tense conversations are exactly where advanced vocabulary matters most. because the right word keeps the conversation controlled instead of letting it spiral into misunderstanding. Let's pair diplomatic with a very useful phrase. No offense, but. This phrase softens a potentially critical comment, signaling that you don't intend to hurt the other person, even though what follows might sting a little. Listen, no offense, but I think the first draft needs a lot more work. Shadow it. No offense, but. Again, no offense, but I disagree. Be careful with tone here. This phrase only works when your voice stays warm and calm. Said sharply, it can sound sarcastic instead of genuinely diplomatic. Listen to the difference. Sarcastic tone. No offense, but. Versus genuine tone. No offense, but. Practice saying it now with a warm, gentle tone. No offense, but I think we should try a different approach. Let's add one more word to round out this block. Digress. To digress means to move away from the main topic, usually temporarily, often to add something related but not essential. It's the upgrade from just saying, sorry, random question, or off topic, but. Listen. Sorry, I'm digressing a bit, but this actually reminds me of something relevant. Shadow it. I don't want to digress too much, but. Again, sorry, I digress there for a second. This word is genuinely useful because in real conversations, people constantly wander slightly off topic, and having a natural way to name that, instead of just awkwardly changing the subject, makes your English sound remarkably fluid. Let's practice a longer, more natural conversation that uses several of today's words together, because that's ultimately the goal. ATSA, not using one advanced word per sentence like a checklist, but letting several blend naturally the way real speech naturally. The way real speech actually works. Visualize this scene. Two old friends on a long car ride. Open road, low music playing. One of them bringing up something that's been on their mind for weeks. A. Can I be candid with you about something? I've been a little tongue-tied trying to bring it up. B. Of course. What's going on? A. So, sorry, I'm going to digress for a second. But this connects, I promise. Remember that job I mentioned a while back? B. Yeah, the one you weren't sure about? A. Right. Well, I actually took it, and no offense to my old job, but I think this new one's going to be a much better fit. B. Wait, that's huge. Why didn't you say anything sooner? A. Honestly, I think I needed to process it myself first, before I could talk about it coherently. B. That's fair. I'm really happy for you. That took guts. Listen to how naturally those words moved together. Candid, tongue-tied, digress. No offense. Coherently. None of them felt forced, because each one was carrying real emotional weight in the conversation, not just sitting there as a vocabulary demonstration. That's the entire difference between memorizing a word list and actually owning a word. Let's take a short breath again, just a few seconds. In through your nose, out slowly. You've now got 10 strong pieces of vocabulary fully active. Candid, assertive, coherent, articulate, elaborate, to be fair, tongue-tied, to catch someone off guard, spontaneous, diplomatic, no offense, but, and digress. Actually, that's 12, and you've used every single one of them out loud, in context, in a real scene. That's not studying. That's training. Let's move forward into block 5, because we still have real ground to cover, including a deeper dive into the exact listening skills, the connected speech, the stress patterns, the rhythm that let you understand native speakers at full, natural speed instead of the slow, careful speed most textbooks use. Let's talk about connected speech in more depth now, because this is the single biggest gap between what most learners are taught and what native speakers actually sound like. In real, fast English, words don't stay separate and clean the way they look in a textbook. They blend, they shorten, they disappear into each other. And once you can hear these patterns, entire conversations that used to sound like a wall of noise start breaking apart into recognizable pieces. Let's start with a classic one. What are you doing? Listen to the slow, careful version first. What are you doing? Now the fast, natural version, the way a native speaker would actually say it in casual conversation. What ya doing? What ya pung? Slow again. What are you? Fast. What ya? Try saying it yourself, slow first. What are you doing? Now fast. What ya doing? Here's another extremely common one. Did you eat? Slow. Did you eat? Fast, the way it actually sounds. Did ya eat? The D and Y sounds blend into a J sound. This happens constantly whenever did you, would you, or could you appear together. Listen to all three. Slow, did you? Fast, did ya? Slow, would you? Fast, would ya? Slow, could you? Fast, could ya? Practice all three with me now, fast versions only. Did ya? Would ya? Could ya? Let's also talk about sentence stress, because this affects meaning just as much as connected speech does. In English, we naturally stress the words that carry the most meaning, usually nouns, main, verbs, and question words, while smaller connecting words like is, the, to, and a get compressed and quiet. Listen to this question said with flat, even stress. The way many learners are taught. What are you doing today? Now, listen to it with natural stress, the way a native speaker actually says it. What are you doing today? Notice how doing and today jump out, while what, are, and you almost blur together. Try it yourself. What are you doing today? Here's a slightly trickier one, because the stress actually changes the meaning of the question. Listen to this. Did you do this? Stress on you. This implies surprise that specifically you did it, maybe when someone else was expected to. Now listen to this. Did you do this? Stress on do. This implies surprise about the action itself, regardless of who did it. Same words, different stress, genuinely different meaning. This is exactly the kind of subtlety that separates intermediate listening from advanced listening, And it's why simply knowing the words isn't enough. You have to train your ear to catch where the emphasis lands. Now let's talk about intonation. Specifically, the rise and fall of your voice, because this is what makes English sound emotionally alive instead of flat and robotic. In general, your voice rises at the end of yes or no questions and falls at the end of statements and most information questions. Listen to the rise. Are you coming to the party? Notice the pitch climbing on party. Now listen to a statement falling at the end. I'm coming to the party. Notice the pitch drops on party. Try both yourself. Rising. Are you coming to the party? Falling. I'm coming to the party. Let's apply everything we just practiced. Connected speech, sentence stress, and intonation inside one natural, fast conversation. I'm going to say the whole exchange at completely natural speed first, the way you genuinely hear it in real life. And I want you to just listen and catch the overall meaning, using those reaction phrases from earlier if you need them mentally. I see. That makes sense. Right. A. Hey, what Daya doing later? A few of us are grabbing dinner. B. Oh, I didn't know about that. Who's going? A. Just the usual crew. You in? B. Yeah, I'm in. What time? A. Probably around 7. I'll text you the place. Did you catch most of it? Good. Now let's slow it down and shadow it line by line, immediately repeating each one right after you hear it. Hey, what Daya doing later? Shadow it now. A few of us are grabbing dinner. Shadow it now. Yeah, I'm in. What time? Shadow it now. Notice how much easier the fast version becomes once you've broken it apart and practiced the pieces. That's exactly the process your brain needs to go through with real conversations. 2. Hear it fast. Feel a little lost. Break it down, shadow it, and suddenly the fast version isn't scary anymore. Let's move into block 6 now, and we're going to shift focus slightly toward vocabulary for describing other people. Personality words, because these come up constantly in real conversations, whether you're describing a coworker, a friend, or someone you just met. Here's your next word. Perceptive. Perceptive means quick to notice or understand things, especially things that aren't obviously stated. It's the upgrade from just saying someone is smart or observant. Listen, she's incredibly perceptive. She noticed I was upset before I even said anything. Shadow it now. She's really perceptive. Again, you're very perceptive. How did you know that? Stress pattern, per-tive. Slow, per-cep, tive. Fast, perceptive. Let's build a scene around this word. Visualizing first. 2 friends sitting on a park bench. One of them clearly distracted. The other noticing something is off before anything is said out loud. A. You okay? You've been kind of quiet today. B. Wow, you're really perceptive. I didn't even say anything. A. You don't have to say anything. I could just tell. What's going on? B. Honestly, I've just been a little stressed about work. Nothing serious. Well, If you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. B. Thanks. I appreciate you noticing, actually. Let's switch roles for this one. And this time, I want you to respond as A, the perceptive friend. I'll read B's lines, and you pause and respond with genuine care in your tone. Since this conversation is quieter and more emotional than some of our earlier ones. Wow, you're really perceptive. I didn't even say anything. Pause and respond now. As A. Honestly, I've just been a little stressed about work. Pause and respond. Now, that kind of gentle, caring conversation is just as important to practice as the confident, assertive ones. Real fluency isn't only about sounding impressive, it's about sounding genuinely human across every kind of emotional situation. Let's add a contrasting word. Oblivious. Oblivious means completely unaware of something, especially something obvious to everyone else. It's almost the exact opposite of perceptive, and pairing opposite words together like this is one of the fastest ways to lock both of them into memory. Listen. Everyone at the party knew they liked each other except them. They were completely oblivious. Shadow it. He's completely oblivious. Again, I was totally oblivious to what was going on. Stress, o biv I aus. Slow, o biv I aus. Fast, oblivious. Here's quick practical exercise using both new words together. I'm going to describe two different people, and I want you to say out loud which word fits each one, perceptive or oblivious. Person 1. He immediately noticed his friend was upset, even though she was trying to hide it. Say the word out loud now. Correct, that's perceptive. Person 2. She kept talking about her weekend, completely unaware that everyone around her was uncomfortable. Say the word out loud now. Correct. Oblivious. Let's add one more personality word. Reserved. Reserved means quiet and private, not sharing thoughts or emotions openly, especially with people you don't know well. It's the upgrade from just saying someone is shy, because reserved doesn't necessarily mean nervous. It can simply mean private by nature. Listen. He's pretty reserved when you first meet him, but once you get to know him, he's actually really funny. Shadow it. He's pretty reserved at first. Again, I'm naturally a bit reserved in group settings. Let's do a role play combining reserved with a workplace situation, since this word is extremely common when describing coworkers. Visualize this. A new employee's first week, sitting quietly at their desk, and a coworker checking in on them during lunch. A. Hey, how's your first week going so far? B. It's going well, thanks. I'm still getting used to everyone, though. A. That's totally normal. You seem a little reserved. Just quiet, or are you nervous? B. Honestly, probably a mix of both. I open up more once I feel comfortable. A. Fair enough. Well, a few of us usually grab coffee around 3, if you want to join. B. I'd like that, actually. Thanks for asking. Notice how naturally reserved fit into a completely ordinary, everyday workplace conversation. That's the real test of whether a word has truly become yours. not whether you can define it, but whether it shows up naturally in small, ordinary moments like this one. Let's now move into our sensory self-practice exercise, because this is one of the most powerful techniques for turning classroom vocabulary into automatic, real-world reflex. And I want you to actually do this one, not just listen to me demonstrate it. Here's how it works. I want you to look around wherever you are right now and describe your surroundings out loud in English using your senses. What you see, what you hear, how you feel. And try to use at least 2 or 3 of today's words somewhere in your description, even if it feels a little forced at first. I'll model it for you first. I'm sitting at my desk right now. There's a cup of coffee next to my laptop, and I can hear some traffic outside. Honestly, I feel a little tired, but also kind of motivated after this lesson. If someone asked me how I'm doing, I'd probably give a pretty candid answer. A little tired, but okay. Notice how naturally candid slid into a completely ordinary description of my afternoon. Now, it's your turn. Pause the video for 30 seconds, look around you, and describe your surroundings and how you're feeling out loud in English. Use again people vina loud in English, using at least 2 of today's words: candid, assertive, coherent, articulate, elaborate, tongue-tied, spontaneous, diplomatic, digress, perceptive, oblivious, or reserved. Go ahead, pause it now. That felt a little strange, maybe talking to an empty room. But that strangeness is exactly the barrier we're breaking down. The more often you speak English out loud to no one in particular, describing ordinary things, the less foreign it feels to speak it to an actual person, because your mouth and brain have already rehearsed the movement. Let's take one more short, calm breath together before we move into our final stretch. You've built an enormous amount of real, usable vocabulary today. 15 solid words and phrases, all of them tied to real emotional situations instead of floating alone on a flashcard. And you're about to get 5 more before we bring everything together in one final fluency round. Let's move into Block 7, our final vocabulary stretch. And I want to focus this last group of words on something specific, recovering gracefully when a conversation gets awkward or when you genuinely don't understand something. So, because here's the truth nobody tells you. Even advanced speakers misunderstand things constantly. The real skill isn't perfect comprehension. It's graceful recovery. Here's your next word. To clarify. To clarify means to make something clearer by explaining it in a different or simpler way. It's the direct upgrade from just saying, "What?" or "Can you repeat that?" when you don't understand something. Listen. Sorry. Could you clarify what you meant by that last part? Shadow it now. Could you clarify that for me? Again, a little faster. Just to clarify, this phrase is genuinely one of the most useful in this entire lesson because it lets you ask for help without sounding lost. It sounds confident and precise, not confused. Let's build a scene around this with a quick visualization first. Picture a group project meeting, several people talking over each other slightly, and one person genuinely losing track of what's actually been decided. Okay, so we'll move the deadline, split the budget between the two teams, and Sarah's handling the client call. B. Wait. Sorry, could you clarify who's handling the client call again?
A.
Sarah is. I'll also send a follow-up email with everything we just covered. B. Perfect. That would help a lot. Thanks for clarifying. A. No problem. It was a lot to cover quickly. Let's switch roles for this one. I'll read line A quickly, the way it might actually sound in a busy meeting. And you pause and respond as B, asking for clarification naturally, the way you genuinely would if you missed something. Okay, so we'll move the deadline, split the budget between the two teams, and Sarah's handling the client call. Pause it now and respond, asking for clarification on any part you'd like. Good. That instinct to ask, instead of just nodding along and staying lost, that's exactly the confidence we're building here. Here's a phrase that pairs naturally with clarifying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this phrase lets you state your understanding of something while leaving room for you to be wrong, which takes pressure off both you and the other person. Listen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we agreed to meet on Thursday, not Friday. Shadow it. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, again, correct me if I'm wrong. This phrase is incredibly valuable because it turns a potential mistake into a confident, natural question instead of an awkward silence. Let's add one more word. To paraphrase. To paraphrase means to restate something someone said using different words, usually to confirm you understood it correctly. It's an advanced listening confirmation tool. Listen. Let me paraphrase to make sure I understood. You're saying we should launch earlier, not later? Shadow it now. Let me paraphrase that. Again, so to paraphrase what you just said, stress pattern phrase, slow phrase, fast paraphrase. Let's combine clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, and paraphrase into one natural, longer conversation, visualized first. A phone call with a landlord discussing a slightly confusing lease detail, background sound of the city outside your window. A. So the deposit covers the first and last month, plus a small pet fee if you have animals. B. Okay, let me paraphrase to make sure I've got this right. First month, last month, and a pet fee all due before I move in? A. Exactly. You got it. B. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is the pet fee refundable, or is that separate from the deposit? A. Good question. That part's actually non-refundable. Sorry, I should have been clearer. B. No worries. Thanks for clarifying. That actually changes my budget a little, so I appreciate knowing now. Let's switch roles one final time. I'll read the landlord's lines, and you respond as the tenant, using clarify, paraphrase, or correct me if I'm wrong somewhere in your responses. So the deposit covers the first and last month, plus a small pet fee if you have animals. Pause and respond now. Good question. That part's actually non-refundable. Pause and respond now. That's genuinely excellent practice, because confusing, slightly stressful real-life situations like lease negotiations, phone calls, and again unclear instructions are exactly where these clarifying tools become essential. Not in a calm classroom, but in the middle of real, sometimes messy adult life. Let's add our final 2 words of the lesson. And I want to end on something empowering. The vocabulary for talking about your own growth and progress, because that confidence matters just as much as any grammar rule. Here's the word: resilient. Resilient means able to recover quickly from difficulties, setbacks, or mistakes. It's the upgrade from just saying you don't give up. Listen, learning a language makes you resilient. You get things wrong constantly, and you just keep going anyway. Shadow it now. I'm becoming more resilient. Again, you have to be resilient when you're learning a new language. Stress, resilient. Slow, re-sil. Iant, fast, resilient. And our final word, to internalize. To internalize means to fully absorb and understand something so deeply that it becomes automatic, part of how you naturally think. It's exactly what we've been doing this entire lesson. Listen, it's not enough to memorize these words. You need to internalize them so they come out naturally without thinking. Shadow it now. I want to internalize this vocabulary. One more time. The more you practice, the more you internalize it. Now it's time for our fluency round, and this is where we move fast. No long pauses, just a rapid recap of everything you've built today. Said out loud, back to back, so your brain locks it all together as one connected skill instead of separate pieces. I'll say each word, and I want you to shadow it immediately, right on top of my voice, as fast as you can. Candid, assertive, coherent, articulate, elaborate, to be fair, tongue-tied, to catch someone off guard, spontaneous, diplomatic, no offense, but digress, perceptive, oblivious, reserved, to clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, to paraphrase, resilient, to internalize. Say that whole list one more time with me, faster. No stopping between words, letting them flow together the way a truly fluent list would sound. Candid, assertive, coherent, articulate, elaborate, tongue-tied, spontaneous, diplomatic, digress, perceptive, oblivious, reserved, clarify, paraphrase, resilient, internalize. That's 20 pieces of real, usable C1 to C2 vocabulary, every single one of them tied to a real conversation, a real emotional moment, a real situation you could genuinely find yourself in this week. Not floating alone on a flashcard, waiting to be forgotten by tomorrow. Here's your task before you close this video, and I want you to actually do it, not just agree with it in your head. Pick one word from today, just one, and use it in a real sentence about your actual life, and comment it below in English. Not a translation, not a definition. A real sentence about you. I want to be more assertive at work, or honestly, I get tongue-tied when I speak English on the phone. That one sentence, written by you in your own words, does more for your fluency than passively rewatching this video 3 times. You didn't study English the safe way today. You sat in real conversations. You answered. As real characters, you got interrupted, you paused, you recovered. And that discomfort you felt a few times throughout this lesson. That's not a sign you're bad at this. That's the exact feeling of your brain building something new. Keep coming back here every day. Keep choosing the words that actually mean something to you and keep internalizing instead of memorizing. I'll see you in the next lesson.